To all who come, welcome. Disney is a time machine that takes us back, connects us together, and shows us that not even wishing upon a star ever gets old. Now come sit with your friends Jonelle, Sean, and Megan as we deep dive into the heart of Disney.
Yes.
To talk about the Haunted Mansion.
I know!
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Welcome.
I'm the most foolish of them all today.
Oh, why?
And you're immortal.
I am immortal.
Because you're sick. Like mortals get sick.
Guys, I recovered from COVID. This round sucked.
I do have to say that means you can't be one of the happy haunts now. There's 999. They're waiting for one more. And now that you've recovered, that means you can't be the number 1,000.
I don't know.
Today we're talking about the Eddie Murphy version of the Haunted Mansion.
Yes, we are.
My least favorite version, actually.
Megan hates this Haunted Mansion more than life itself.
No.
Out of all three, you hate this Haunted Mansion.
Okay.
Since the entire time we were watching it, you were not a fan.
Listen, you're correct. But there are things that I hate more than this Haunted Mansion.
Okay.
Genocide. Hippopotamus.
What did a hippopotamus ever do to you?
They are terrifying creatures. Okay? I trust 99% of animals on the planet. Hippopotamuses are not one.
Okay.
Yeah.
They look cute to throw watermelons in their mouths.
Yeah, no. I do not trust the hippopotamus.
They're just big and fat. I want to ride one.
We went to the zoo when I was pregnant. And there was a hippopotamus, like, in a pool. And he started grumbling. And you could feel it in the ground. And it started to, like, rattle. I could, like, feel my bones rattling. And the baby, Casper Jr., who wasn't born yet, was kicking me.
I noticed how you felt that he was in the water.
Dude, I could feel it, and I was on a platform above him.
I don't see how you can feel that, because I was standing right next to you, and I'm just like, look at him floating in the water.
And I was just like, he's gonna kill me. I'd rather stand next to a lion.
Well, I have a lot of nostalgia with this movie for...
First off, do you like them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, on a scale of
Because
1
of
to
my
10.
nostalgia level, like,
Okay.
it just brings a lot of happy memories, but also terrifying thoughts.
Let's discuss.
Okay. So I'm going to take you on a story time.
Okay, tell me the story.
Okay. Little Jonelle is going to grandma's every year.
Yes, we understand. This is where you watch all the old movies.
Yeah. So my grandmother would drive all the way down to Oregon to pick me up, and it would be an 8-hour car drive to Idaho.
Yeesh.
And in the car, she had a DVD player, you know, back in the old days where you plugged it into the carport.
I still got one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this thing needed to be plugged into 20 million things in order to even play a movie.
Yeah.
And there was always 3 CDs that were brought on this car trip for me. The Haunted Mansion, Swan Lake, and some old-timesy movie that was a cartoon.
That's a weird variety.
And I just remember one of them, there was a mouse, and, like, it was a weird 3 movies that you wouldn't suspect me to watch, but I watched them every time I went to Idaho with my grandmother. And so during this 8-hour car ride, we'd be listening to the very first movie, The Haunted Mansion. And so at this point, we'd be driving through the Dalles, and you're just entering, like, when you leave Portland, because that was the area that I lived in, you are leaving a forest.
Yep.
And kind of like how they are. And then as you go through the Dalles, there's that river for Lake Roosevelt. And all the dams that are along that. So then you kind of get that feeling of, like, the road trip that they're all on, and then how they're going to the lake type of situation. Like, the movie just, not only did it fit the nostalgia of the drive, but, like, every time I watch this movie, I have, like, the most wholehearted feeling of spending time with my grandmother, in the car watching this movie as she's driving me to her house because she wanted to spend time with me.
See,
Okay, that's really sweet.
I first watched this movie because at the time it was the only haunted mansion that existed, and well, like I had become a um, member of the Disney Movie Club before it like ended its reign, and so it was one of the movies that I got because you got to pick like 5 movies, and if I recall correctly, Haunted Mansion was one of my movies that I picked because I really wanted to see it. Because like I remember going on the Haunted Mansion when I was in Disneyland, while I was in high school for a band trip, and I really wanted to see it. And then there's a couple other Disney Parks movies I still want to see too. I think there's one on Tower of Terror, which is interesting. But so I really wanted to see this movie, and when I got it sophomore year of college and stuff, I watched it, and given that I was the only one and stuff, I would say like, yeah, I liked it, and I could see like all like the like small little things relating to the Haunted Mansion ride.
See, I've never been on the Haunted Mansion ride, and Megan, I know you want to go into a deep dive.
Megan's about to.
I just needed to go into the nostalgia of my childhood. I've never been on the Haunted Mansion ride. So this movie was all I had ever known about the Haunted Mansion, which kind of led to a prequel question before this. But the part that I was going to end with my story was every time I had gotten to finishing the movie, the ending terrifies me. A lot of the things in the actual house terrify me.
That ending makes no sense. It doesn't make sense.
So I loved this movie because Eddie Murphy was always an act. I know you don't like Eddie Murphy.
I'm not even gonna say anything.
Eddie Murphy was always one of those actors, along with Robin Williams, who just made me laugh. So that's why this was always the first movie, because it was, it fit with the drive, and then Eddie Murphy could keep my mood, well given off of everything in there that had truly terrified me. So I felt like every time I watched this movie, like I was able to overcome my fears and like keep chugging along is basically how I put it. But the parts that scared me the most, the ghosts are terrifying, spiders are terrifying. The thought of death alone, it's terrifying, because at the end we all know the ghost in the movies go to heaven after the uniting of the souls. And this has led to many discussions in the past that me and Megan have had, and that Sean tends to get annoyed about sometimes. And this conversation comes a lot from going to a university where it was Christian, and this topic, I mean, it comes up a lot.
Yeah.
I think with that just being Christian there.
It was like the theology major of our group of friends. So like if there was any like weird questions about the Bible, it'd be like, hey Megan, let's have a 3-hour conversation about XYZ things. So one of Jonelle and I's first episodes were not episodes, like conversations, was like talking about hell
and predestination. And this movie is what triggered my like conceptualization of thinking maybe there's something better for me out there after this life. And I will say that perception has now changed again, and I think that's just from losing a loved one, and this one actually really sticking more than normal, because I've grown up with them my whole life. But we're gonna now get away from depressed Jonelle, and we're gonna move on to Megan.
Megan's ready.
Hi. So I remember watching this movie first.
You're talking to us.
Hi. I think you introduced it to me.
I am. I introduced all of the Haunted Mansion to you,
yes,
like in its entirety, the movies, and the ride.
No.
Not the ride?
Not the ride. I've been on the ride many times.
Okay.
I love the ride at the Haunted Mansion. I don't remember what year it was, but one year around this time, I got into a hyperfixation with the Haunted Mansion, and I learned all that you could learn about the Haunted Mansion, like to the point where I was listening to the voice actor who plays like the ghost host, and I would just like listen to like the recordings. That's a trip. Do I like this movie? No. Is it the worst movie in the world? No. Can I stand Eddie Murphy in this movie? No. I'm sorry, Eddie Murphy. Personally, hi. This is me, Megan. I'm back.
Eddie Murphy, you can give me all your jokes.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'll take them all.
Sorry. No. You are a person who deserves respect, but your sense of humor and my sense of humor are completely different, and I respect you. But this movie just like puts a sour taste in my mouth. Yeah.
You gave me nothing to go off of.
Okay. So let's talk.
You're just talking.
The origins of the Haunted Mansion is where we had originally had our discussion. I had my question, and then we needed to save it for the podcast.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Jonah's like, so where did the Haunted Mansion come from? And I was like, ooh. So, okay.
Where does it come from?
Okay, so Disneyland was like in concept by Walt Disney. And so originally it was supposed to just be like this Mickey Mouse park apart, like across from his studio. And then it kind of grew and grew and grew into like the Disneyland we know of today. There were some Imagineers earlier who like were like, hey, we should have like a haunted mansion type of thing. And like, there's a lot of interesting history that I am not going to go through painstakingly because that would be its own podcast. But basically, from the moment they were like, hey, we're going to have this Mickey Mouse park, there was going to be a haunted like mansion or like wacky weird, like there was like, what was it called? Mystical Mansion of the Weird.
It's the Museum of the Weird.
Yeah. And so it was always going to be there. But there's this like weird thing that happened called like the World's Fair. So they built like the Haunted Mansion. And then
but there was nothing in it.
There was nothing in it. The World's Fair came, and Walt Disney was like, hey, so all my Imagineers have to go work on like the thing. So like It's a Small World got like built. There was
the World's Fair brought like
Abraham Lincoln
to Disneyland because it was the Carousel of Progress.
Carousel of Progress.
It's a Small World.
Lincoln.
Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln.
And then there was like a ride that talked about like how like technology, and I think it was like specifically like cars and like the evolution of like motors. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know about that one.
But then this thing tragically happened where Walt Disney died. So like the Imagineers basically had to come up with the idea: is it going to be spooky and like horror, or is it gonna be funny? Because two of like the main people who were put on it was like a divided camp, right?
One wanted humor, the other wanted fear.
And I cannot remember these Imagineers' names.
It was Mark Davis and Yale Gracey.
That's it. And so where does the Haunted Mansion come from? It comes from this ride, just like Pirates of the Caribbean come from like the idea of the ride.
Yeah.
Right?
Much to anyone's like confusion, the Pirates of the Caribbean movie is based on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride from Disneyland.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of conspiracy theories about the Haunted Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
And I know right now we are talking more about the ride, and we probably realistically should talk more about the movie, but I just don't know enough about the ride because I have never been to Disneyland. I've been to Disney World, but I still don't know anything about the Haunted Mansion.
Here, let me walk you through like the basic ideas of the Haunted Mansion.
Is it scary?
Yes and no.
Okay, so the first half is pretty like you're like you see a dead body.
Can I take this one?
Okay.
So you know how in this movie at the very beginning, it shows that the guy goes, Master Gracey, who is actually named after Yale Gracey, the Imagineer that worked on Haunted Mansion.
Fun fact.
You know how you get that scene of him hanging himself?
Mm-hmm.
That's in the Haunted Mansion.
Like literally, you
see a dead body hanging in the
I would not like that. Okay.
But it's like the one of the first things you see, and it's like
so
It's not an actual dead body that you're
Yeah, I
seeing.
know.
What you're seeing is like a projection of like someone's drawing of it.
But like, so the way the Haunted Mansion functions, the actual building only has one room in it. Because you walk in and you get brought into a room, it's called the stretching room. It's a giant elevator. Like, it's probably bigger than our living room.
Mm-hmm.
Usually shut the door and you hear
The
this
ghost host.
ghost host talking to you overhead.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't feel yourself moving at all, but you're just looking around and he goes, can you find your way out? This room has no windows and no doors. And you look around, yeah, there's no windows, there's no doors. And you start seeing the walls stretch. There's these portraits. At first they look like normal portraits, but they start stretching to show more of the picture. But you don't feel yourself move. It's freaky as all hell.
What?
And then
Yeah.
I'm just confused. Wait, so
I,
for sitting in the ride, you are in an elevator.
Okay, so it's not okay.
let me continue on.
Okay, hold on.
And then you can take over the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you get into this elevator.
You're standing. You're not sitting in anything.
Yeah, you're standing in a crowded room.
It's still in the queue, if that helps. Like you're not on the actual ride yet.
Oh,
You're being lowered down into the show building.
Because
After the dead body hangs, so you can take over the rest of the ride.
Okay.
I just want to take over the queue.
okay.
Once you see the dead body hanging or whatever, the lights will flash. All lights will go out. And then lights come back on, and there's a different door open. And that takes you to the main queue where you see like the pictures changing, like you probably saw in the movie, like some of the pictures would change.
yeah.
That's in the ride. And then you got brought to the Doom Buggy,
Okay.
which is the actual ride.
Let me explain about. You are correct. Let me explain why you go down the elevator. First, because like, basically, there's this thing in Disneyland called the berm, which is like, so you don't see like the rest of like Anaheim. And for this specifically, you're going underneath the train track, so that way, like, you're entering into a whole different building. So that's why you go down the elevator, because there's not enough space in the actual building to do the entire show.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wait, but then how does see, this is where I just have a lot of logistical questions, and maybe it's just because I'm stupid, but if there's no walls and no windows.
No, there's no windows and no doors in the elevator.
in the elevator itself. So like
You can't see any traditional door. The
And-
wall itself is a door. But they shut it, and so you're fully enclosed, and you don't see a traditional doorway out.
it's an optical illusion.
Yeah.
So like
I don't know if okay, when we go to Disneyland, I'm gonna need someone to hold my
You
hand.
can watch the attraction on Disney Plus. They uploaded a walkthrough.
Yeah.
We'll watch it together.
Okay, great.
yeah, so,
Because I'm just more confused as I think about this, and I'm like, how are the pictures changing? And that would scare me.
oh
Okay.
yeah, no, it scared me as a kid. So basically, you walk through like it's called the Hall of Portraits, right? And so like you see it changing, and there's basically what's happening is there's like windows that like light up these portraits. So you have like a picture of someone smiling, and then it turns out it's a Medusa, right? And then there's like the optical illusion of like busts, right? So it's actually concave, so it's inwards. But the way your brain is working is trying to make it 3D, so it's supposed to pop out at you, and that's why when you like shift, the eyes follow you.
Yeah, there's these two busts that, like, you look at them and they're just following your gaze. It's weird.
I do not like that, but okay.
And then basically you enter into the Doom Buggy, where the ghost host is basically like, come sit, do not stand, do not push on the doors, and you basically like get brought through what is like your typical like scary things. You see someone like pushing up on a coffin trying to get out. You see like the candelabra being held by no one. You see doors rattling. And then you're brought to basically the seance room. Yeah, it's the seance room with Madame Leota. So it's quote unquote the gypsy woman from, I hate that they call her the gypsy. She's like, my name is Madame Leota. And then they're just like, the gypsy. And I'm like,
I always called her Madame Leota.
Yes.
So
She's Madame Leota.
and it also really bothers me in the movie. She's like very green. In like the park, she's very blue. Also, fun fact about Madame Leota, she is actually based off of like they sculpted an Imagineer. That's her face. But the person who speaks is the person who plays Cruella Maleficent.
Yeah, it's
And-
Maleficent's voice
Yeah.
actress is the voice of Leota in the ride.
So
Yeah.
she scared me a lot in the movie because I don't know why, mainly the green in the face, like.
Yeah.
But I also thought she was really funny, like when she was like, "Don't drop me," type of thing.
That's totally 100% fair. No, I love Madame Leota. And then you're brought to like the ballroom, which
I don't think we need to go this
Yeah.
far in depth. Like,
but basically then you go see like there's like this bride that kills her husband. And then you get thrown out a window and then you are brought to like the graveyard scene, and that's when like it starts getting funny again. So you see like these ghosts like dancing around playing instruments, and then you hear like the grim grinning ghost song sung by busts just like they are in the movie.
yeah, let's say those singing busts in the movie.
Yeah.
Those are from Red.
Yeah, and it's copying the Dapper Dans, which is a
Okay.
group at Disneyland. Yeah.
I always wished I could own those statue heads.
See,
Like, I want to have my own personal singing statue heads in my house.
there's so much to talk about with the Haunted Mansion ride.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think we're gonna have to spread it out over all 3 episodes, rather than go through each Haunted Mansion, because each of them highlight different things. Like, this movie really gave justice to the Hitchhiking Ghosts.
The Hitchhiking Ghosts.
It gave
Yep.
justice to a lot of the finer details. Like, it gave Yale Grace, like with the Master Gracey, more of a presence than the other movies did.
So, this movie, I think, gives homage to like the original story of. So, like I said, this got passed through like many hands because of like the fair and like before Walt Disney died, the whole idea originally was it was supposed to be a tale of a sea captain and his wife, and we learned that like there was like this really like crazy sea captain who like got killed and killed his wife, and we learned that as well like walking through the mansion. And so I think what this movie does is it like takes that minus is the pirates part, because we got a whole separate ride of Pirates of the Caribbean, and basically tells that story, but like has like modern day people in it.
So this movie always gave me Phantom of the Opera vibes,
Yes.
but Disney style.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know much on Phantom, but I really...
Falling
For
chandeliers.
the beginning of the movie, the way that they did to do a story like this is hard, because you have to set the basis of the story, and I actually think the way they handled the story in this movie, setting that like background on what happened in the mansion, I think they did that very well.
I thought they
doing,
did
like,
that very well too.
like with the credits, and you're kind of like, what the hell is going on? You're just getting this, and then it shifts to Eddie Murphy, which I have an issue with the humor in this movie.
I also want to add that the beginning is brilliant because there's like the conversation in English class where it's like show don't tell. This is like the perfect example of that. They could have walked through exactly what happened in like the main credits, and that would have ruined the whole story, but because it's just showing and there's not a lick of like dialogue, you are left to question like what is happening.
So I think that actually, like, knowing I've only, young me had only known this version of the Haunted Mansion my entire life. Like, I had always talked about wanting to go to Disneyland to my mom growing up and to my grandma about it. And it was just one of those things where my mom always wanted to afford it and my grandma was willing to pay for it. But, it was kind of the guilt and a lot of like push and pull. And I just never was able to go. I instead went to Disney World, which I still don't regret.
With this movie, I have a very big affinity for Disneyland in my heart. Like, you always hear about like the Disney Worlders versus the Disneylanders. It's something I kind of love, is that they highlight only Disneyland's Haunted Mansion,
Because
and they kind of leave Disney World's Haunted Mansion alone.
So the funny thing is I never actually really visited the Haunted Mansion at Disney World.
no, she can finish. I'll go after Jonah.
I was just gonna kind of wrap up my little story here. But like essentially at the beginning, how it does leave you on that little bit of a cliffhanger. This is why I like Eddie Murphy's type of humor and like how he plays the family role, because then it cuts into this family where there's a realtor type of situation, a husband and wife working in tandem, and then the kid, who's delivering mail, drops off a whole bunch of pictures of his wife and him selling houses, and she happens to look, but like we couldn't really tell that the wife who was murdered looked the same as Gracey.
No,
So,
it's
Or
what
as Sarah.
yeah, Sarah.
You were like, as Gracey. I was like,
Sarah looked like Elizabeth.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I think that's what made like the reveal later on a little bit more powerful.
because that the advertising on that was the foreshadowing of everything that was going to come forward. But
Just didn't know it.
yeah, and now knowing a little bit of the context behind like going into the ride and things like that, I think that the family in this situation is meant to go on this ride, into the house, but they're really, and the only way for them to find out the story of what had happened is by Sarah becoming essentially Elizabeth, and them having to travel their way around the mansion to find out little bits and pieces here and there about what's going on with mom.
What do you guys think? What the hell was the ending? Like specifically, like when Ramsley, which by the way, the actor who played Ramsley died this year.
Rest in peace.
Sag.
But when Ramsey was like something hell, whatever that line was, like I don't know, I was confused. Like I thought he was like basically trying to doom them to hell, but then this like fiery dragon thing comes up and takes him. I'm like, I thought you caused is this suicide? What the hell is this?
Well, he had killed Gracey and Elizabeth because
He didn't kill Gracey. Gracey killed himself because Ramsey killed Elizabeth, and
but
Gracey thought it was Elizabeth committing suicide.
yeah,
It was Romeo and Juliet.
yeah. And essentially, I'm pretty sure that when they were doing this, they were playing more in on the story of obviously not pirates, but playing more into race, where it was more of, look, this has plantation written all over it. Southern plantation all over it. She was a slave girl, probably learned some education. And I'm reminding you people that this is not a PG podcast. We're going into PG-13 rated R. I'm sorry if you do not like this topic. Sean, you just seem really confused about it, though.
I'm confused where you're going with it, because I'm so lost.
Elizabeth is just kind of portrayed as a black woman who comes from
Like something
of a slave. Yeah, and she
like an other. Something that Ramsley doesn't approve of. Whether that's a slave or like someone who is free but just doesn't have like the same power.
Yeah, because I would picture her as a woman who had gained her freedom through education from her parents' hard work.
Yeah.
And like through the next, like she was the next generation, and this became her freedom. And Gracey just happened to go and, was like, we're free. We grew up together. I'm in love with you, Elizabeth. Like, let's get married type of thing. Like, I can see that. That seems very real to me.
There isn't a lot of details to go on. Like Ramsey always was saying like he was willing to throw everything away for love, which does make me wonder about like the classic like if you think of like royal movies or anything like that, it's like she has no title. She has no. Why are you throwing away? She's not someone of interest, type of thing,
See, and this is why I would put her on the lines of she was probably a free black woman.
Hi, baby.
And it just wasn't as socially acceptable. And like
they just didn't give us a lot of details about it. I'm cautious to assume.
And there's probably good reasons that they didn't put in a lot of details for that. But, there's a lot of assumptions that could be made, but given, the United States historical context, and if you know nothing about the Haunted Mansion ride, and you've only seen this movie, aka me, and you have family who are from the South, you would assume that it was a freed black woman.
Just looking at time period, that would make sense.
Yeah, like the clothing wise, it kind of fits the time description of what you're taught in school. At least what I was taught in school and taught by my family. So no one, please don't take offense to this. I'm just trying to I'm giving you my historical context of how I connected the dots to this story and how it all made sense to my head as a kid.
This movie, it hits a lot of things for me when you look at the Haunted Mansion. Right? The problem I have with Eddie Murphy's humor. I don't like the way he tried to bring in inappropriate humor. It didn't feel right. Like, there's some Disney movies that do have more inappropriate humor. Hocus Pocus. And it's done in a much more humorous way, but Eddie Murphy made it feel so forced.
I'm legitimately so confused on what the both of you mean by his humor because, okay, maybe this is just me and how I was, grown up, but, I see nothing wrong with his humor.
I didn't watch a lot of Eddie Murphy movies growing up generally. I knew he was Mushu and Donkey.
Yeah, I watched him in Coming to America, which that is not a kid movie at all. But I've also watched him in a lot of those older movies. And yeah, he is definitely Eddie Murphy is not really a Disney portrayed actor. He is definitely the black man who, he's been around the town.
But the way he delivers his humor didn't feel organic in the movie.
I thought it was super organic. He was funny to me. I just don't understand it.
The innuendos.
But I understood them and they made me laugh.
I didn't find them funny for the context.
Okay, I think I should explain why I didn't think he was funny. And we're going to get into making backstory lore time. So my dad was a traveling salesman. And Eddie Murphy just reminded me of him in such a bad way. I don't have a good relationship with my dad, but it was I remember the first time I watched this movie, I had to pause it several times because I was that hits way too close to home. Even the smile he does, where it's we want you to find the right home for Evers and Evers and Evers.
See, I loved that. It was so funny. And then when he went to the Hawaiian bar, I thought that was hilarious because he's like, just sign the papers. I want to go.
I didn't have an issue with that stuff. The whole thing, we wanted you to be happy for Evers and Evers. That just got annoying.
I thought that was funny, though. Hold on. I'm going to, okay.
That was funny the first time.
I'm going to look up all the movies that he was in, so that way I can tell you which ones that I've seen him in.
Yeah. Okay, so, I'll continue to explain why I don't like Eddie Murphy in this movie. Like I mentioned, my dad was a traveling salesperson, and there are some people who really love their jobs. But for my dad specifically, he loved his jobs more than he loved relationships. We all came second to his job. And so my dad was the type of person okay, we can all go to Silverwood, but I'm going to be on my phone doing emails and phone calls the entire time. Don't let anyone know I was here because I will be doing work. We would go on family vacations and he would be doing work. So that comment that they make, okay, it's only going to be 20 minutes and then we're going to go to the lake. And then it takes 3 days. I mean, my parents do not buy haunted houses, but do I also understand oh, dad's work comes before everyone else. Yeah. And I've seen him make the face of I'm going to do whatever it is to please you. And I've had that moment where Eddie Murphy comes with like a teddy bear and a really expensive watch, right? To be like, I'm so sorry, I was late, but I had to close on another deal. Like, that's happened to me too as a kid. And so, like, watching him during this movie, I just saw my dad. And it hurt. Like, there's that scene, right? Where Megan, not related to me in any way, and her brother are like, we need to go save, like, the souls. And Eddie Murphy's like, no, I don't want to do that. And then it took until, like, no, we have to save mom for him to be like, oh, well, I guess.
Okay, so I am looking at a lot of the movies that he has been in, and this makes a lot of sense. So the movies that I watched mainly of him are like all of his movies he did in the 80s.
Ah.
So
You're much more used to
80s humor, which, okay, in the movies he played in the 80s, it was essentially like a businessman type of thing, like rags to riches almost type of situation. And you know, like you're in the city looking for love, you have money, so you kind of explore. And but I mean, I also grew up with, because like I really only had 80s VHS tapes. Yeah, my old soul shows here. And Eddie Murphy was on a lot of those.
yeah.
So I would just watch these movies of Eddie Murphy in the 80s. And I think just the way how my family may have raised me, like my mom, I think I just understand the.
To me, it just didn't feel. The innuendos didn't fit with the moment. Like it felt forced to me.
I don't know. I thought they were all very like well done.
I have that opinion. I said to me, it felt forced.
I know Eddie Murphy's really funny to a lot of people. I personally don't like Donkey. I personally don't really care for Mushu. I haven't really personally.
I love Donkey.
I don't really like Shrek. I know, come at me. I know. But I do like Smash Mouth. Music though, I didn't know that Smash Mouth was in Shrek till many, many years after Shrek came out. And I was like, oh, I love All Star. And everyone's like, yeah, I was good in Shrek. And I was like, what are you guys talking about?
So,
Patty once told me.
Yeah. But I respect him. He seems like he has a sense of humor that's really niche.
Yes.
And for what he does, I think he can do a great job. With that being said, in this particular movie, I just don't like him. And it's not because of like the way he presented or did the humor. It was just like, it was going to trigger me no matter what actor played the role. It was like how they did or did not do jokes. It was like, it was already a bad game set match to begin with.
See, and his humor and like his energy, and this is where I was gonna go into next. And we're going into the scary scenes that I thought was scary. Okay, when they had to go into the crypt,
Which does not happen in the Disneyland ride.
I hate that scene, and it still makes me jump every time.
okay, I got a couple things here for discussion. One, whose tomb do you think it was that was in the unnamed tomb? Who do you think it was?
Ramsley.
Do you think it was Ramsley?
I think it was Elizabeth.
It was clearly a man.
I think it was a man.
Oh.
Because the thing is, it's what's weird about it is that it's called the unnamed, like, tomb or whatever. So there's no name associated. It's sitting right there in the middle, and it's the one with the key to the trunk.
I think it's like
See, this is why I would think it's Ramsley, though, because he had a thing against Elizabeth. And generally, I think Gracey would have had a name too, because he was the owner of the house.
The heir of the house.
But because Ramsley was more of his side man, generally they still get placed into a very nice place because they had like been a servant to the owner his whole life. And so when he passes away, traditionally in like hierarchy type of situations, they put them into like a well place, but like no one's gonna know who that person was.
Well, and that raises the issue of like it's in the middle. So again, it's like this person, you have this place that's lined with caskets, but then you have this one that's in the middle. Clearly, like, hey, this one's like venerated, basically. It's the one that's in the center, and so
You thought it was Gracey. Just wanted to like.
yeah, I thought it would make sense if it was Gracey, because it would also make sense for him to have the key to Elizabeth's belongings.
Yeah, but Elizabeth's belongings had enough clues to suspect that she was in fact murdered.
Okay.
But he killed himself.
Wait. I have something that might, like, that I think we really need to be talking about. Which is, who buried these bodies?
Well, that's the thing. Gracey killed himself.
Mm-hmm.
Chances are Ramsley was still alive. So I can see Ramsley burying Gracey with the key, putting the belongings for Elizabeth in there, including the letter. Because Gracey was dead, he wasn't going to find it.
Fair enough, fair enough.
I don't know. I feel like Ramsley's also the type of person who would like stick it with him to the grave.
Yeah.
You know, like he definitely held on to that lie into the 20th century. So,
But I could also,
First.
yeah.
I could also see, because we only really get to see like 3 males who are dead in this movie. Like, and actually like get to know them, right? Because like, yeah, sure, Eddie Murphy's character is like alive, but like he's alive. He comes to the house, so it can't be him.
Yeah.
I can also see Ramsley putting it on like another person's body to be like, wasn't me, it was Charles. Charles had the key.
I could see that too.
See, that goes like, but you're kind of touching a little bit towards my other point of, like, there's a giant cemetery full of hundreds of ghosts.
Or like skeletons in this case.
What do you think is the method of how they got there? The reason I say this is because, yes, they say there's a curse. Is it safe to assume that all of those ghosts were once servants that eventually died and they're just stuck because of the curse, like those 2 were? Or how do we think the ghost actually like got there?
So, when I watched this movie, I always assumed that the ghosts were people who attended that event that night and had witnessed the tragedy of Elizabeth's death and then the death of Gracey. So I'm assuming all the ghosts that are there are the ones who were at the party and had witnessed that tragedy that night.
Oh, yeah.
But I think the rest of the graves and tombstones past that are the generations that would have lived on past that. I don't think they were held on with that burden. I just think the people who witnessed that tragedy, they were the ones who were cursed.
Yeah, like they were the ones who were like in a state of unrest.
Yeah, because like they probably saw the love story of Elizabeth and, you know, they were just like, this should have not happened.
And who's to say that, like, because wasn't it like poisoned, like her drink?
Yeah.
Who's to say that they didn't just like make a big bowl of poisoned, like?
And that was my second assumption, was that at some point, either at that party, I seriously thought that like all of them at that party had gotten eventually later that night drugged and was killed too.
So that way, like, there were no witnesses that could be like, but actually, this person did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Ramsley had went and just spent years putting bodies into the backyard. But that would be a little dumb. So
Leota had help. Seance. She held a seance for all of them to put their bodies, like, into the crypt. Like, hello, I know you got murdered.
okay, that crypt. We need to go back into that because that thing is scary AF. I got issues with that.
Okay, listen. We're gonna come back to that. Can we just appreciate how Nova's ears are, make it look like the movie Room ears? If you look at the video. Good cat. Okay, sorry. Continue. I had to point it out because it was so cute.
The crypt is a weird scene. Like, I do have to say this.
It's scary.
We can all agree. Them coming alive after grabbing the key was the most predictable thing.
As a kid, no.
As a kid, no. But, like, it's one of those things where it's like, don't go in the basement.
The spiders leaving the crypt.
No.
Oh.
No, I don't think that's okay. So, like, there's this fear of, like, animatronics underwater. I can't remember what it's actually called right now. But they're like when Megan dives into the water, you see like this like woman made out of cement.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought she was just gonna turn like in like one of those weeping angels from Doctor Who, just like turn and like go after Megan. And every time I watch the movie, I'm like, she ends up fine. But I'm like, that's the thing I'm always scared of.
Poor kids are gonna need therapy after that scene.
I need therapy after that scene.
Yeah. I was like, I definitely need therapy after that scene. So,
Spiders. Mm-hmm. You know, lucky spider.
also the fire dragon at the end literally never made sense to me. And I'm like, and there's the Harry Potter scene.
Well, that's my thing. I'm like, the ending doesn't make sense. Like, was he trying to throw them into hell, but basically through some form of judgment, he was the, like, I don't understand what happened. He's like summoned the powers of hell and threw himself down into hell.
Hold up, let me watch that part and let me tell you what he says.
Because I'm like, this doesn't make sense. He feels like he's going full demon mode.
I think. Okay. I'm going to just throw my thoughts into the ring here. So they're all in this sort of like purgatory, right? Where like they're not exactly waiting trial, but they're waiting for like their fates to come to an end, right? Where it's like there was a person who was done wrong. And so like all of them have to wait for like the consequences of those actions, right? And so I think when Ramsey, that's his name, right? Ramsley.
Or if he says it, Ramsley
calls on the forces of hell. What he is actually wanting is he is wanting to basically punish those who he thinks should be punished. Right? So in his head, that's Gracey and Elizabeth. And now these stupid humans who came in and wrecked the plan. Mm-hmm. But I think what he actually does is he's like, instead of punishing the others, I think what basically happens is with the powers of the 99 happy haunts minus that guy,
assuming there's 999,
we only see like 4.
We don't know if there's actually 999.
That's what it says in the movie description. I highly doubt it because we only see like,
and they don't address it. They don't say that there's 999,
right? But like my basic thought is like, is it supposed to be a snake like the Garden of Eden? Because like
a fiery snake.
Yeah, fiery snake bringing him back to like getting, I don't want to say revenge, but like giving him his karma.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Figured it out. Okay. So Ramsley is upset about the situation going on, because he finally got caught with his actions of what he had done, and afterward he says, I condemn you all to hell. But obviously at this point Sarah has already drinking the potion, so it's kind of those like in between death lines of the good and bad at the very last minute, and bad ended up because at that point when he had condemned hell, the fireplace had erupted, took his soul to hell because he was trying to bring hell in to take everyone to hell. But Sarah, who was having Elizabeth's spirit, was there to break the curse and lift them all up.
I get them going up. That would make sense. But
Yeah.
if he's saying condemned them all to hell, why did his
So
actions cause him to go to hell?
Because he was the barrier. So Elizabeth was the barrier of them to go to heaven. He was the barrier to go to hell because he was the one who had murdered Elizabeth. Elizabeth had done nothing wrong. So she is the one on holy ground for having done nothing wrong. And he had been convicted of murder. So he is essentially the door to hell.
So basically, like how in Harry Potter, Lily Potter like sacrificed herself, and so when Voldemort tried to kill Harry as a baby, Voldemort died instead because of Lily's love protecting Harry.
That's not good every day.
Like the same kind of vibe where it's like Elizabeth did nothing wrong, and that basically protected them, and he had done something wrong, so he was the one that got judged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if there was going to be a sub-off series on this,
yeah,
or like a sub-off movie of just the final battle in the Haunted Mansion, it would probably be Ramsay and Elizabeth in this time warp of, like, that split second where he had begin condemned to hell, and Sarah was in the body in transition of Elizabeth entering. So like the two of them are both open portals. Think of Avatar but Korra, where they open up the portals for
I get what you're trying to cut.
Yeah.
I think you're edging the point of like over explained where it doesn't make sense again.
Yeah.
No, this movie, I won't lie, I think I agree with Megan that it's, like, out of all three, it's mid. Granted, next week we're talking about the Muppets, so it's kind of like its own breed.
So this is my favorite, like...
Wait until you see the other two.
I have seen the other two.
You have?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm a person who gets bored.
I think I like the other two. And I will talk about, like, more with each movie, obviously, but I think the reason I respect the other two more when it comes to, like, a Haunted Mansion film is they
do a better job of cohesifying the story and the lore of the Haunted Mansion.
I was gonna say, they follow, like, this, because this movie more is, like, based off of, like, the original story that was not come to pass. Right? Like, that's not the story that the Haunted Mansion, like, the ride is today. And we're just talking about the ones in America. There is a different one
in France.
And there's a different one
in Hong Kong.
In Hong Kong. We're just talking...
This, like, scary movie, though, like, at least still has enough. Like, this is a scary movie. I don't need to watch another Disney movie afterwards because I feel content. This is A tier on scary movie level for me.
Okay, listen. I'm not bashing the scariness or the, like, wholesomeness of this movie. What I am saying about this movie, for Megan personally, for me personally, is I can't watch this movie alone. Not because, like, any of the animation is too scary, not because of, like, dislike of any of the actors. For little Megan, it just brings up too much emotional turmoil. And so I won't go out of my way to watch this movie. But if someone was like, hey, I really love the Haunted Mansion movie with Eddie Murphy, I'd be like, I can understand why. I genuinely get it. It's a really good movie. I don't agree with all the choices, but, like, that's also, like, cool. I don't agree with a lot of choices that movie makes.
Also, that last scene, sorry, I'm cutting back into Eddie Murphy's jokes, but I was listening back into on his last of his jokes. I think it makes sense now. Because he does make jokes that are like, I would say they're more common in lower poverty of like class level. And this is because like I watched a lot of Eddie Murphy's too when I lived in Oregon, and um his humor was the same of the areas that I lived in. And I'm going to put this out there. I did not live in the best of neighborhoods in Oregon. I did not live in a rich white neighborhood. I lived in like apartments that my neighbors were in gangs. There were alcoholics, like a lot of horrible things in my neighborhood. But I kind of realized Eddie Murphy's jokes are very similar to the ones that I grew up near. So makes a lot more sense now.
Like, I don't know. I got none else. Like, I like this movie. Don't get me wrong. But after seeing the newest Haunted Mansion and then the Muppets Haunted Mansion, which the Muppets Haunted Mansion is just funny and entertaining to watch. But, and we'll talk about that one next week. But, like, this movie, especially in contrast to the new one, like, I love the Haunted Mansion lore as it is. And I feel like the other ones do a better job at bringing the rides to justice and both honoring where the story is coming from, but also the lore that has been established.
Because ask anyone who loves the Haunted Mansion rides, it's all kind of chaotic because there were so many. Someone once described it as like it's many fingerprints. Many people touched it. Many people left like their mark on it, and so it's kind of funky because it doesn't really have a complete story. It just has pockets. What was it? Walt Disney was once talking to someone who was making the music for Pirates of the Caribbean, and they were like, "Don't think of it as a cohesive conversation. Think of it as going around at a cocktail party and listening in on conversations." That's the best part about the Haunted Mansion is you're walking into several conversations that are happening. And I feel like this movie is very much let's go with the most like linear storyline. And the other two are like, okay, we're going to focus more on the characters walking through versus the story of the mansion. If that makes sense. Because this movie is about the story of the mansion. The other ones are the people who are going into the mansion. And I think that's why they work as better movies.
We'll talk more about the Haunted Mansion next week with the Muppets Haunted Mansion.
Prepare for me to geek out.
She's gonna geek out even more, guys. But anyways, we'll see you next week.
Bye!
Bye.
Hitchhiking Ghosts thing.
Bye.
Do this, Jonah.
Wait, that feels too weird.